are the first line in forecasting severe weather caused by thunderstorms, tornadoes, and fires.
Tonight, we take you in depth with some of the best meteorologists in the world, sharing their insights into Alabama's tornado season, the changes needed to the warning process, and the weather question facing Alabama officials even they can't answer. It is often the first sign of severe weather.
In the chance of strong, maybe severe storms, there is a level 2 out of level 5 risk statewide, all 67 Alabama counties.
Rich Thompson, lead forecaster at the Storm Prediction Center, is one of those tasked with issuing the tornado watches we so closely pay attention to.
So we're trying to assess what's the high end potential and then what's the probability that we're actually going to get storms in an environment that supports those kind of outcomes.
Most of the meteorologists here have at least 15 years of experience. Thompson has worked some of the biggest tornado outbreaks in history, including April 27, 2011. He admits tornadoes have become more frequent in the Southeast in the last decade compared to the Plain States, often known as Tornado Alley. Thompson notes Alabama's season is longer, lasting November all the way through May, and he also says there's an important question that must be asked here.
Is it a permanent thing? I highly doubt it, because it's been busy before, it's been slow before.
Thompson says he's frustrated when a tornado watch forecast doesn't pan out, like last week here in Alabama.
We have a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk of severe storms for the western and central counties of the state.
But the biggest frustration is often when he gets it right.
It's a little bit demoralizing when you think, I did the best I could, and there's still all of these injuries and fatalities. And it's kind of like, sometimes it's just a helpless feeling. We don't know what more we can do to help people.
That's the work of social scientists like Kim McClain. Her goal, understanding human behavior so the weather enterprise can better warn the public. Many of her findings are challenging how we understand severe weather coverage. The ability to watch weather broadcast through mobile streaming technology means people have more time to react. It's a point she says broadcasters need to realize.
We can encourage people not just to sit in their shelters for 10, 15, maybe 30 minutes, but that it can be okay as long as you know that you're close by, you can stay in touch with that information. This has some benefits, and some of the research we've done with people who go through events, it can be tough to stay in a shelter and be disconnected from your environment for a really long period of time, and people who come out of that come away feeling maybe less powerful in how they could have responded, a little disempowered.
Mental trauma can last long after storm debris has been picked up. McClain says surviving storms is about where you are. Her work shows for those living in Alabama's manufactured housing, lead time and warnings is often equal to the time it takes to reach the nearest community shelter.
What could really help people in that situation is to have something that's a little longer than a warning and a little shorter than a watch and a little more specific about where could be hit, something that's a gap filler. And those exact technologies are actually things we're working on here at the Severe Storms Lab.
Just how important is where you're sheltering? Consider the survival rate for an EF5 tornado in a site-built structure. Would you guess the answer is nearly 99%?
It can be survivable. The key is it's so important to be in a site-built structure and not in a more detached structure. So things like mobile manufactured homes.
It's a question Alabama school systems also face when dismissing students on severe weather days. Some will inevitably return to homes which are not as safe as the schools they've left. Even this scientist doesn't seem to have a universal answer to this very real question.
I have nothing but sympathy for public safety officials right now in the way that they have to navigate those choices.
Words cannot describe how opposed I am to this project.
Planned on living and dying on Chandler Mountain.
The tiny community of Steele, Alabama, took on industry giant Alabama Power.
What are my options? Provide a list of the landowners that this is going to wipe out.
Passionate protest this summer as neighbors fought plans for a hydroelectric pump storage facility here on Chandler Mountain. Hydropower touted as cleaner and greener, but homeowners like Fran Summerlin argued it would destroy their way of life.
They're angry and they're scared and they're emotional. It's targeting a poor area that thought that they wouldn't fight.
Communities signaling they will no longer stand on the sidelines for decisions of this magnitude.
I wish that they would just grow a heart. I know that they have investors, and I know this is a money-making thing, but sometimes the costs are just too high the cost of wildlife, the cost of this. I mean, it's just too high.
Alabama Power scrapped the project, so how do we safely meet the growing demand for power?
You got solar farms all up North Carolina, which has virtually the same climate as we do, so it works there, it would work here.
The small modular nuclear reactors, I think that's what's in our future, and I think eventually they will go to fusion as well.
While hydropower didn't work on Chandler Mountain, it's been working for the Tennessee Valley for 90 years.
My grandfathers helped build TVA.
TVA's Chickamauga dams can power 100,000 homes.
Technology is still as good today as it was then. It's all clean, green, carbon-free energy.
Spokesperson Scott Fiedler explains 60% of energy TVA now generates is carbon-free. Hydro, 15% of that. Testing is underway for a new hydro facility in North Alabama near Pisgah, similar to TVA's pump storage at Raccoon Mountain. Think of it as a giant water battery harnessing and storing electricity. Over the next 5 to 10 years, TVA plans to retire its coal fleet, relying more on nuclear and renewables.
Our goal is by 2035 to add about 10,000 megawatts of solar. So that means we're going to be doing a massive build over the next 10 years as we shutter the coal plants and start moving and transitioning to a cleaner economy. You can't have a carbon-free future without nuclear. At TVA, we're looking at small modular reactors. We operate 7 large units, but these would be smaller 300 megawatt units that we could put in locations. We're seeing a new nuclear renaissance. TVA is a leader. We turned on our Watts Bar plant, which was the first of the 21st century. Vogtle down in Georgia just turned on theirs.
Fiedler says it's a more reliable mix of energy options at a lower cost, fueling the region's growth.
Right now, about 70% of America from those top utilities pay more for electricity than we do right here in the Tennessee Valley.
It's all about balance going forward and figuring out how we get to more clean, renewable technologies while also ensuring that we're not, significantly harming our environment or the people who live here in Alabama.
Southern Environmental Law Center's Christina Tidwell says solar should be a bigger part of the mix in Alabama.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
SCLC has filed a federal lawsuit against the Alabama Public Service Commission over policies it contends allow Alabama Power to charge fees that are too high for solar users.
For the average solar system, you are paying over $27 a month, and that's before you ever turn on the lights or use any power from Alabama Power. And that equates to over $300 a year and to over $9,000 over the 30-year life of your solar system.
She says Alabama as a state is dead last in solar capacity.
There is tremendous room for growth here in sunny Alabama. If you look at our neighbor Georgia, they're ranked 7th in the country, and they have 5 times the amount of solar that we have here in Alabama, and they have 5,000 solar jobs compared to less than 1,000 here in Alabama.
Tidwell says replacing coal with another fossil fuel, natural gas, is a mistake.
Gas is not clean. The primary ingredient in natural gas is methane, and methane is a potent greenhouse gas. Gas also produces carbon dioxide when it's burned, and it's very destructive as well in terms of production and how they extract it.
And according to Tidwell, it's already hitting ratepayers.
In 2020, to move forward with a large gas expansion, and last year we saw 2 rate hikes due to the price volatility of gas. Investing in gas is not a way to lower our power bills.
No power source is completely free from impacting the environment, whether it be batteries for electric vehicles or solar panels and wind turbines, which have a lifespan. Some researchers contend hydropower isn't all green either. Dams and reservoirs are a source of greenhouse gas emissions. Environmental groups say coal offers a hard lesson in how destructive our hunger for energy can be. The toxic mess left behind in the form of these gigantic coal ash ponds is seeping into our groundwater and rivers.
We now have, over 50, in some cases 70, 80 years of coal ash waste to deal with. It's one of the largest industrial sources of waste in the country that future generations are going to be dealing with. And there is no perfect solution because it's so nasty and there's so much of it.
An EF2 tornado brought catastrophic damage to downtown Selma. Now people there are just beginning the cleanup effort.
ABC 3340's Megan Scarano continues our coverage from Selma and how some say this storm has brought people together like never before.
Cleanup efforts are now underway in Selma after a tornado tore through town. Roy Barber woke up this morning and decided to lend a hand wherever he's needed.
We do what Christ wants us to do. Love your neighbors, help your neighbors when they're in need.
One of the many around Selma in need of a helping hand is Gary Burden. His business of 40 years now looks like this. Boarded up windows and debris everywhere.
There are trees that came through the roof, and actually there's damage inside. Some of it came all the way through the ceilings on the inside, and no electricity, so it's, we just can't use it. You never think something like this is going to happen to you. It's very, how can I say, disheartening.
Damage like this can be seen all throughout the city. This office building here behind me is torn to pieces. The insulation is hanging from the ceiling, and the glass that once covered this storefront is shattered. Selma Fire Chief Franklin Edwards says overnight the number of injuries reported increased from 5 to 25, and thousands are still without power. Crews are working into the overnight hours to restore power to the city.
It's like this tornado divided the town. We have a north and south now because it came straight through the heart of the town.
The nation's eyes are kind of on Selma right now. What is one message that you want people to know from Selma?
We are together. This event has brought a togetherness that you just wouldn't believe how people have come together from near and far to just say, hey, we are with you. And love is the best thing, the best way I can describe it.
Selma High School is now being used as an emergency shelter. About 25 people are staying overnight, and they fed over 300 people. Months of cleanup are ahead for the historic town. For now, people say the road to recovery is one step at a time.
A little bit here and a little bit there, I guess.
Will it ever go back to the way it was?
I don't, in my opinion, I don't think so. I think it will be a long time.
In Selma, Megan Scarano, ABC 3340 News.